Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 3 of the Valvoline IndyCar build. This is part 2 of the engine build, and this is what we got so far. So everything's looking good. Got the turbocharger on here, but between the two parts, I decided to go ahead and add a little bit of the wiring on here. Right there, I got the pictures from online, obviously, and I'm not an engine guy, so I'm not sure exactly where the wires go, so I just kind of tucked it in underneath this little cylinder right here where it's labeled, this marked black right here. So I gotta paint that, but I thought it would add a little nice touch to it. If you guys wanted to know, I used a round rod, which is a 0.10 inch or 0.3 millimeters. For those who are looking at this saying that's not the right size, you know, again, I'm not an engine guy, but I thought this kind of looked nice, so I'm gonna go ahead and start working it on the other side. I already got my pieces all cut up right over here, and I will go ahead and start gluing it over here, and then I'll go ahead and paint it. If you ever want to start doing something like this, probably you might want to go ahead and add these on here. I use super glue to glue this on here instead of the Tamiya cement, because obviously the cement's going to go ahead and eat up the paint. So I just went ahead and used super glue on that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and work on the next side, on the other side here, and get the wires put in. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I got my plastic rods and I super glued down here, and then just put one rod at a time, and I let that set overnight, so it should be fully cured by now. Next step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some super glue on these little points right here. I guess the spark plug wires, I guess what these would be, but again, I'm not sure. I'm not an engine guy. And then what I will end up doing is I'll pull this rod here and hold it in place, and then once the glue's set, then I will go ahead and work on the next one. So let's go ahead and see how this one goes first. Grab a little bit of super glue, or CA glue is what I've been using. A little dab right there. My cable. We'll just hold it there and let it set. Might actually get my tweezers here. You might need to hold on to this for a few minutes. There we go. So go ahead and let that set for a couple hours before I cut the excess part right here. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this next one here. Okay, so that second one took me a little longer than I was hoping. It's kind of hard to kind of do this in front of a camera, so, but I got it right there. I think it's barely hanging on there if you can take a look. So I'll probably put a little more CA glue on there before I call this a night. But I'm going to go ahead and put these other two on, and then I'll get these all trimmed up and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so we got the wiring complete on the Chevrolet head here, and I think it adds a nice little detail. Initially I really didn't want to do this, but I think the detail would look really nice, so I decided to go ahead and start working on the plenum here and put some of these wires on there too. I looked at some internet pages. I think the Meacham Auto Auction had a picture of a Chevrolet engine like this one here, the V8 engine. So I'm going to go ahead and put these wires in some random places here. I'm not sure exactly where they go. Based on the pictures, they seem like they go into the heads here and somewhere back there too, but you know, I'm gonna just do what I can do just to kind of make it look nicer. I'm gonna go ahead and get working on that. Okay, got all the wiring put in here on the plenum. It doesn't look too bad at all. I'm liking it. I'm satisfied with how this engine turned out, honestly. So it's a lot better than what I thought I could do, but the wiring really does add a little in-depth detail. The way I painted the Chevrolet on here and the logo was pretty neat to do, and pretty cool experience to learn how to do that the first time. So I'm going to say that we're pretty much done with this engine here. So the next part we're going to go ahead and work on is this transmission part, all this stuff that is going to hook up to the back of that engine. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Okay, here we go. Gonna go ahead and start putting this lower suspension onto this transmission case here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of glue in here and do it this way as well. That's gonna be one big mess. Make sure to put this on correctly. Make sure that this is straight. So if it's even angled slightly, which looks like it's rocking a little bit, then I'm going to have an IndyCar that's going to be, I don't know, not squared. So hopefully I can go ahead. I'll probably need to add more glue here to get that secured in. Throw it in there, this spot right there. Trying to put in areas that people won't be able to see. I want to try to be careful with the paint too, because the glue just eats it up. Starting to get a little harder here, so the bonding looks like it's slowly working on here. Let me see if this angle looks better. It's hard to say. I'm going to go ahead and keep working on that, and then I'll let it set overnight, and if I don't like what I see, well, I'll break out the spare part and repaint this whole thing. Let's hope that we don't have to do that. Alright, so now I got this lower suspension glued on to the transmission here, and let it dry for a couple days since I've been pretty busy. So it looks pretty good here. Looks straight. Doesn't look too bad. I put it on the table, got eye level with it, and looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put this next suspension piece on here, which goes right on top of the lower suspension, right here, like so, like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some glue on there, and then I'm gonna use this with this piece here that I'll wedge it in here, which I'll be adding it on later, and then hold that upper suspension part here. So let's go ahead and try to get this glued in here. A little bit of glue to kind of start out with. Plug this in here. I'm gonna use my contortioning skills, wedge this piece right here. And so that way, at least the suspension will be in the right spot, in theory. Like so. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a little more glue. Just gonna eat up the paint. Right there. So I'm going to go ahead and let that set. Add a little more glue down here. It's too much glue. Alright, maybe not enough now. Like so. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and let that set and dry, and then come back in about an hour and see how it goes. Okay, we got the suspension put in now, so it's looking good. And now we're going to go ahead and time to put this half shaft and the suspension upright on here. So I already glued these two together here to make it easier to install these two pieces into the transmission and the suspension parts. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and put this in place. Like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this portion like so. Go ahead and adjust it to make sure that it looks flush with the suspension. And the last thing I want is the rear wheel to have some sort of a toe out or being all crooked and stuff. That would make the car not go straight. It would kind of have a bad pull or oversteer, I guess. So that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little more glue right here to see how the glue's eating up into the paint, but that's okay. The tire's going to cover that part up. Alright, good on this part here. Let this dry, and I'm going to go ahead and work on the other side as well. Same thing, have this shaft and the upper suspension glued already together. Put that piece right there. Line it up a little bit. Again, add a little glue. Make sure that it looks flush with the suspension. go. We'll go ahead and get this, let this sit and dry. We're almost done with this episode, and just kind of merge these two together, and they're almost done with this portion of the IndyCar. I do have to add this wastegate on here, so I'll do that when I'm not filming here. I won't film that part there. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and let this set. I'll do a little painting once it's dry to kind of clean up the little details here. All right, everybody, I got the transmission and the engine glued together, so it looks pretty good. I'm actually thinking this looks pretty awesome, honestly. It's just my opinion. I guess the only downside I have on this is that this half shaft right here is a little crooked, so, but it is what it is. So I do really like how I did these wiring here. It may not be accurate, but it adds some really nice detail to it. It looks not real, but you know, it's good enough, I would say. So that's going on to the next step. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and dry fit this on the undercarriage of the car here. See if I can go ahead and get this on here without dropping this. There you go. So this is kind of a preliminary look of how it's going to look. I think it looks pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. Put some feedback on the comments, that would be great. If you haven't, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time. We're going to go ahead and work on this undercarriage on the next episode. I'll see you guys later.